Kavod Chasanya, I'd like to say thank you to Rabbi Eisenberger for giving me a warm welcome and granting me the opportunity to speak here. It's a delight. I've only heard great things about the place. I've read about it in Mishpacha. It was a really beautiful article. Thank you, Yoli. We started this idea, by the way. I challenged you early June. I said, I'll come, remember? And I wrote it down. I said, at the end of the summer, when I come back from Tom's River, we're going to make this happen. So I cracked open my scheduler, and bingo, there's the note for Thursday night. And I said, are we on? And he said, give me a moment. Let me see if the guys are going to be in town. And Baruch Hashem, he was a real Nachshon ben Aminadav, and we did it. So Shkaya, thank you. Okay. So I think before I just delve into the subject matter, you may want to know a little bit about me. How did I get into this work? And was it my primary vocation? Okay, here we go. Born in Cairo, Egypt, to a father who was originally from Syria via Yerushalayim. My mother's family came from Odessa after the Bolshevik Revolution to Cairo. Interestingly, when I was at NYU as an undergraduate student, I did a thesis paper called "Was Christopher Columbus Jewish?" I was trying to determine if he was Jewish or not. Along the way, I came to discover there were 50,000 Ashkenazim in Cairo after the communists, came in and people were running for their lives. Anyway, so my father and my uncles were Talmidim of Hakim of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. His first shtetl, after he finished his studies at Yeshivat Porat Yosef, which is across from the Kotel, was he was given the position of being Av Beit Din and chief rabbi of Mitzrayim. So my father and uncles were close with him, and after the 6-Day War, we came to New York. That itself is a story, how Baruch Hashem we got out alive. And then we were warmly welcomed by the Syrian community in Brooklyn. Then something very important in my life, what I call an epiphany, a very important moment in my life was when I was 12 years old and I was enrolled in 8th grade at the Mir Yeshiva, and the Gadol Hador moves into town. Rabbi Miller comes and decides to land right in the middle of the Syrian community. And I met him when I was 12 years old, and it was a love affair ever since. I became a Talmud Muvik to him. I didn't make a decision without him. As a matter of fact, from everything involved my own personal journey in Shidduchim, he was involved with my Shidduch, talking to the Nahelis at the time of Yeshivat Shari Torah, and Baruch Hashem. So I learned a lot from him. And then onwards to medical school, where I specialized in sports medicine and foot surgery. I had a very interesting stint at the Olympic Games in 1984, where I was assistant team physician to the track and field team, and came back to New York, started the practice. But I had had enough of waking up at 3, 4 in the morning from the residencies in Atlanta and St. Louis, etc. So I said, you know what, I want to learn half a day, and I want to work as a doctor half a day. The way you go is the way you're led. So that's what I wanted, and Hashem gave me that. I learned with Rabbi Miller in the mornings, and then onwards to Dr. Zelik Friedman, who was a Talmud Muvik of his for many years, until basically both of them kicked me out and said, it's time for you to teach. And that's what I did. I taught in yeshivas. Ruach Torah is probably where I don't know if I had, Yoli, were you there when I was there? You were, right? With Rabbi Bernstein and Rabbi Mark, and wonderful people. And Rabbi Perlau, who I hear teaches here, great people, and Baruch Hashem. So more experience in this, as many people came to me with questions on Shidduchim, and I wasn't really trained at it, but after 25 years of hearing it, thank God I got very good at it. Moved to Miami to develop my career in medicine there, and surgery, but unbeknownst to me, I was really being groomed for this, as I was asked to teach for Eish HaTorah Sameach on the campus of the University of Miami, which I did for 6 years. And we hosted, my wife and I, thousands of people went for Shabbos, Shabbat. Many people came through. Many people got married through my classes. And then when it came time to think about Shidduchim for my own daughters, I was a little nervous. I didn't like what I saw in terms of the landscape of Miami. It was not the Miami of today. We're going back, say, 20 plus years. And I was a little nervous. Was this the kind of husband that I wanted for my daughters? My daughters were students of Yeshivat Atir Torah, who is led by one of the Gedolei Hador, Cham Yosef Raful, and I knew I wasn't going to get that in Miami. So I called the Tasha Rebbe, who I was very close to. I said, I have a very good practice here. I'm involved. I teach in 5 shuls. Every night, different shul I was teaching. And he said, nope, time for you to go. Your children mean more than anything. But I said, I have a great practice here. I have a good life. You have to check out. So I did. And Baruch Hashem, that was the right move for me. Came back. My daughter's married B'nai Torah. Baruch Hashem. And one day, I'm teaching in yeshiva in Rucha Torah. We used to have a class called Wednesday Night Dating with Dr. Jack, where I'd give a shiur, and there was, like here, hot buffet dinner, roll in. One day, one of my friends, Maimon Elbaz, you may know, he's on Torah Anytime as well, puts my shiur up on Torah Anytime. Bam! The next thing I know, I'm getting emails from all over the world with all types of questions on their relationships, dating, what they do. I saw very clearly that Hashem was guiding me. As I tried to go back into medicine, I was getting pushed away. You know what I'm saying? And I developed, I guess, my next career, which was become a dating coach and a shadchan and teach all over the world. So today I'm going to share with you what I'm seeing. This is something that I do 5 to 6 days a week, literally worldwide, Zoom, WhatsApp, video, live, you name it. I'll give you my thoughts of what's going on. And Be'ezus Hashem, we'll grow together through tonight's presentation. There'll be a Q&A after. Feel free to ask me any questions. And let's run with it. But, you know, we have to start with a joke, as they did during the time of the Mishnah. A new store has opened. It's called the husband store. There's a sign at the entrance. You can visit the store only once. There are 6 floors on this store, and the value of the products increase with each successive floor. The shopper can choose any item from a particular floor or go up to shop on the next floor, but she cannot go back down except to exit the building. You either make a choice on that floor or you keep going up to try to choose at the next floor, but you can't go down. You have to just exit. So a woman goes into the store. On the first floor, there's a sign. Here we offer men who have good jobs. She says to herself, well, that's nice, but, you know, Yetzer Hara, mi sheyesh lo maneh rotzeh matayim. I can do better, just more than a guy that just has a job. So she continues to the second floor. She gets to the second floor and she's welcomed by a sign that says, here we offer men who have good jobs and love children. She's intrigued now. But she continues to the third floor. It's probably getting better. And there she gets to the third floor where she's welcomed by a sign that says, welcome to floor 3. Here we offer men who have good jobs, who love children, and are extremely good looking. Wow, she says to herself. But she feels like a Yetzer Hara. She's compelled to keep going. Let's see what floor 4 has to offer. So she goes up to floor number 4, where she's welcomed with a sign that says, here we have men who have good jobs, who love children, are extremely good looking, and help equally with the housework. She says to herself, it can't get better than this. Now there's a voice, inside her like that devil with the prongs. Maybe it could. Let's try floor number 5. She goes up to floor number 5, where she's welcomed with a sign that reads, here we offer men who have good jobs, love children, are extremely good looking, help equally with the housework, and have a great sense of humor. Having found what she's looking for, she's attempted to stay. But something propels her. Let's try the 6th floor. She gets up to the 6th floor, where she's welcomed by a sign that says, hello, young lady, you're visitor 42 million. There are no men on this floor. This floor only exists to prove that women are impossible to please. Thank you for shopping at the husband store. Okay, so let's see what's going on here today. Before I get into more of the nitty-gritty of dating, I thought perhaps we could use some chizuk. Today, Rav Shachta passed away. Alav Shalom. I had the zechus to study there for 14 years. I'm thinking of an article, or rather a letter, that was one of the most famous letters written in the annals of American yeshiva history. A letter that was written in 1963 to his predecessor, Yitzchak Hutner. It comes from one of his Talmidim. Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner was zoiche to produce many of the rabbis that served the United States in the 1960s and 1970s. It comes from one of his Talmidim who has now a shtetl somewhere in the Midwest. And he's down on himself. And he writes a letter to his Rosh Yeshiva. And he tells him that he's pessimistic about his life, about his spiritual greatness. He talks about the days when he was in yeshiva and he was steiging and he was growing and things were rolling and he was knocking off mesechta after mesechta, and he laments about how his spiritual status has now become sort of deflated becomes sort of like passive, not going anywhere. So Rabbi Hutner writes him a beautiful letter. He tells him, "My dear cherished student, your letter has reached my hand. Your words have reached my heart. Know, my cherished one, that," let me explain something to you, he tells him. One of the mistakes we all make is that when we focus on the lofty level of accomplishments of Gedolim or great people, we only focus on how they are complete in this area or that area. We don't talk about the struggles that they had. We don't talk about the mistakes that they make. And the listener, Rabbi Hutner writes, would get the impression that these people came out of the hand of their creator or the womb in ideal, perfect form. Everyone is awed by the purity of speech of the Chavetz Chaim, Zichrono Livracha, considering it a miraculous phenomenon. But who knows of the struggles, the battles, the obstacles, the slumps, and regressions that the Chavetz Chaim encountered in his war with the Yetzer Hara until he became the Chavetz Chaim. He wasn't born that way. The result of this misconception is when an ambitious young man meets obstacles, he imagines himself unworthy to serve Hashem. But look what he tells him. Da'alecha Havivi, you got to know, my beloved one. Shoresh nishmatcha, the root of your soul, lo hashalva sha'yetzer hatov. It's not the tranquility when times are rolling and things are good, but dafka b'melchema shel yetzer hara. You're tested by how you deal with your challenges in life. When Yetzer Hara hits you with a parking ticket, when chas v'shalom there's a car accident, when there's a problem with shalom bayis, when there's a downturn in business. That's how we know how great you are. Not when things are rolling. And he says, you should know something. Many people misunderstand the pasuk that Shlomo HaMelech brings down in Mishnah. He says, Sheva pamim tzadik nafal v'kam. Right? Or Sheva pamim nafal tzadik v'kam, rather. 7 times he fell, the tzaddik, and he gets up. Wrong! Where do you put the comma? The way we should say it, Rav Hutner says, is Sheva pamim nafal. 7 times anyone fell, tzadik v'kam. The fact that you get up, you're a tzaddik. Not that you were born one. You put the comma after nafal, not after tzaddik, and that's very important. So one of the things I want to share with you is, yes, in times in dating, it seems like it's going hard, it's not going for me, it's hard, it's struggling. You got to keep pushing. You got to push forward. That's so very important. Okay. Yes, second. So I want to share a story with you while we're talking about Gedolim that I heard in a video that Rav Yitzchak Yosef told someone when he was visiting Betar. Actually, the person who started the Hidabrut, and he told him a story about his father. You gotta hear this amazing story. He says, no one knows that my father, Rabbi Vadia, was previously engaged and had a broken engagement before he married my mother. What happened? One night, he's learning, and his fiancée walks in to the room and she says, "No, Vadia, mata choshev nalech haseret? What do you say? Let's go to the movies." He says, he's very innocent about it. He says, "Ma koreh shama? What goes on there?" "Ata yodea ish kofetz me'etz le'etz." A man jumping from tree to tree, Tarzan. Right? And he very innocently says to her, "Ani lo holech. I can't, I'm not going." And she blows up. And she says to him in Hebrew, "Ma pitom, what do you think? Nachnu nos'im, when we get married, nachnu lo rochim laseret, we're not going to the movies?" And he innocently says, "No." Okay. She storms out. 2 days later, he's hit with a hazmana from Beis Din. She's suing him for mekach taos. She was under the expectation that if she's marrying him, they're going to go to the movies. He misled her. And she wants Beis Din now to get involved. So he doesn't want an embarrassment and a shame. So he approaches Rav Ezra Atiyah, who is the Rosh Yeshiva Purat Yosef, and he says, "You know what? I just want to settle this pshara out of court. Beis Din, we don't need a big thing, a stink here. Can I have a job?" He says, "Sure. You know what? Every night, Yeshiva Purat Yosef, which I said to you is the Koitel, go and put away all the Sfarim, and then we'll pay you." So he approaches Beis Din, Rabbi Vadia, and he says to them, "You know what? I have a deal. I just got myself a job, and I'm going to get paid, and whatever money I make, I'm turning over to her, and that she can have. And so it's settled. Good. Rabbi goes on, he gets married, he has many children, Bayin Hara, many of them are tzaddikim, and very big leaders. Now, let's telescope forward to 2012, a year before he passes away, and there's a knock on the door in his apartment in Rehova Kavlan in Har Nof, and it's a little old lady. So the Gabbai, speaking of Gabbai, Gabbai answers, his name is Zvi, answers the door, Mizeh? So the lady answers, Tagid larav shiduch harishon shelo po. His first shidduch is here by the door. And the old lady walks in, like that, and she starts, and he recognizes her. And she says to him all her troubles in her life, and how times were hard for her. And, you know, the kalkala ala panim, her financial status is very difficult. So Ravadia, being the head of Shas, Hashem had at his disposal nice amounts of money, which he distributed to the klal by the millions. So he says to Tzvi, you know, take care of her, tisaderotat, give her what she needs, the budget, and take care of her, buy a refrigerator. And she's feeling good and happy, and she's getting ready to leave. And as she's leaving the apartment, she turns around and she says the $1 million statement, and she says, Da lecha yesh lecha mazal. You should know you have mazel. He says, why? She says, after we broke the engagement, I went to a doctor for just a checkup, to have, you know, blood tests. And they found that I could never have kids. Had you married me, you'd had a big fat zero for children. Look how Hashem watches us, watches our every step. He's there all the time. So what are we seeing today? Something called TMC, too much choice. We have at our fingertips today cell phones. Those cell phones have WhatsApp or have dating apps that literally thousands and thousands of girls are our fingertips. And we've lost the ability to decide what's for me, what's not for me. No, I don't like her hair. You know how many times people sit in front of me? Not my look, not my look, not my look. And I'm wondering, I'm scratching my head, how do you even know what your look is? How'd you figure that one out? I'm sure to many married people, if you ask them that the person they married was they expected, they would say no, including myself. The last thing I would have thought was the person I married. You don't know. But what happens is we get lost. So they did a study, by the way. They did a study in Whole Foods. 2 psychologists set up 2 tables. One had 6 jellies, one had 24. If you taste, you get $1 off if you buy. Right? 6 jellies on one, 24 on the other. The table that had 24 had 60% more people stopping to experiment and to taste. But the table that had 6 had 70% buyers. The table that had 24 had 30. People don't like too much choice. And how do we get around that? Very simple. We Jews must take the advice of Dr. Abraham Tursky, alav shalom. We don't date with our hearts. We date with our heads. We sit down. We craft what's called a top 10 list of needs. Needs. A need is a midah. What do I need to make me happy? So when I go on a date, it's not some stam random event. I know what I'm looking for, because on my top 10 list, I've now sat down and I've written down what I want. I do this with a lot of people. And if anyone needs my help, you can always reach out to me. So I take a moment now, so I could tell you what my phone number is, 305-206-1916. It's public. I'm happy. Call me. I'll tell you how I operate. And this is what we do. I craft a top 10 list. So now that you have a top 10 needs list, you know what you're looking for to make you happy. Needs are kind, compassionate, respectful, spiritually growing girl. She cares about the home. She'll have your back. Someone that's emotionally available and stable. That we can't emphasize enough today, with a lot of emotional disturbance running around. How? Yeah, I know you're laughing. Okay, so we know what's going on there, and you have to, I deal with a lot of divorced people. Too many, unfortunately. So many people are finding out after the fact. She's on pills, she's bipolar, she has OCD, she's got personality disorder. Yes, there's ways to find out. The more you learn, the more you get educated about dating, the more your senses become refined. And you better be careful. There's no way I'm going to give you the whole sefer tonight. So I will tell you that on Torah Anytime, I have over 500 shiurim just on dating alone. I can keep you busy for a decade in that. But I'm going to give you as much as I can in terms of what's critical so that you could be matzliach. How many people here are single? So I need to know how to focus my tonight's agenda. Mostly? Okay, so that's where I'm going to go. Okay, now, when looking for a life partner, I'm concerned about a personality. That means when I'm out on a date with her, it's clicking. And I just want to show this on my phone. Anyway, how do you do that? Ask good, targeted questions. What should I ask? Okay, I have the answer for you. All you have to do is contact me. I have a PDF that I created for David Lichtenstein when I was on his show, Headlines. It's 100 questions, the most important questions you should be asking on dating. The key to successful dating is becoming a very good communicator and asking good, solid questions. That's how you open up. That's how you determine if there's a kesha between you. When people sit in front of me, like today, and tell me they've been going out for 2 years, I want to just, I don't know, put my head in a bucket of water. What's going on? Why do you need 2 years to date? It makes absolutely no sense to me. In 3 dates, I could show you how to determine, or even less, if the girl's right for you or not right for you. You know, it's very interesting, because I still have involvements in medicine, and I know an attorney in Buffalo. And he had to come down for a hearing in the city, and he says to me, JetBlue told me that there's a delay in my flight. Why don't I run over to the TWA hotel and just hang out by the bar, and they'll call me when the flight's going to be ready. Okay. This guy, by the way, is not a frum guy. Fascinating. He's Ashkenaz from Buffalo and speaks fluent Arabic, and he and I can go at it because I speak fluent Arabic and God, fluent Hebrew too. And he says to me, "Hey Jack, you know, I was in the lobby and all these religious people with hats are on dates. What's up with all that?" So I said to him, "Matthew, that's real dating going on. Those people are dating because they're trying to determine if that person that's sitting across the table from them is the right person for them. Jews date cerebrally. They date with their heads. A Ben Torah is not there to waste time, right? He's there to ask questions, whether he's from BMG or Chaim Belen or Torah Vadas, or wherever, or Yatir Torah, to determine if that girl is right for him or not right for him. So again, good questions, very good questions, will help you get to your goal faster. I'm just off the top of my head, I can just give you some examples. Describe an accomplishment that you're very proud of. When you're having a bad day, what do you do to raise your spirits? Do you have a mentor? If she's a girl, she can ask him, do you have a Rav? Very important. Another question, tell me about your friends. What midah do you look for in a friend? How long have you known your friends? You're now getting into their kishkas, and you're getting to determine about their reliability, about their integrity, what makes them who they are. You understand? Does it take a lot to make you happy? You want to determine if their life is all about Gashmias. I got a call from Antwerp, from a girl, a Hamish girl, who was married for 1 year and 1 month. She married an Israeli boy, Ben Torah, a yeshiva boy. He moved to Antwerp, decided to open a credit card in her name, and he had a penchant for the good life, and he made sure that he went to a 4 or 5-star hotel every second or third Shabbos, built a $180,000 debt, and then divorced her and stuck her with the bill. Yeah. And I want to see something. Give me a second. Here. Notes. Syrian girl comes to me in Tom's River last week from Deal. Married 7 months. Red flags all over the place. The shadchan tells her after 12 dates, oh, don't worry, he'll open up. He hasn't spoken for 12 dates. What is she smoking? You know, what is she thinking? I don't get this, you know. Rabbi Lopian is very clear on this. You don't go on what was and what will be. What you see is what you get. If you're not getting the behavior that you want in order to be happy now, you ain't getting it later. You need to see it now. Here's another one. Refuse to let him meet his friends until they get engaged. What's that all about? Clear avoidance. Not wanting, he's hiding something. Poor communication skills. Never wrong. Some of the things I'm going to talk to you about tonight. She's always the wrong party, but he was never wrong. Very important. I want to touch on a important point here. There's a concept called makom rishon. You know, when I was teaching Torah, I was designing a line of art supports because I was a podiatrist that I wanted to take to the retail world, similar to Dr. Scholl's. And I showed the line to Walgreens, to the buyer. I'll never forget the guy's name, Rob McCabe. Every time I went to see him, a Chicago Blackhawks shirt, big Bulvan, big Irish dude, right? So I once had to make a pitch to him. And so he's invited me down to the office. There's this guy with his two Goyish secretaries on one side and two on the other side. You know, before we get into business, I want to know, why are you never available to take a call 9 to 1 or 9 to 12? I remember at the time. I said, because I teach in a institution of higher Jewish education. I'm not going to tell them what Torah is all about. I tell them that's what yeshiva is. You know, who do you teach? I said, I teach young men how to be happily married. So now he hits me with the magic question. He says to me, okay, what's your elevator pitch, dude? In 30 seconds, what do you teach them? So I said, Hashem, I need you now. And boom, it hit me. I said, Rob, I teach my boys to treat their wives like makom rishon, first place. I said, I'm going to teach you 2 words in Hebrew. If the wife feels like she's first place, bam, you got it made. I mean, you could write volumes on that. Mazeh makom rishon. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example that Rosh Hashanah brings down. A couple comes to him with a shalom bias problem. Okay, she's got a list of charges, like the DA for Trump, right? Okay, he says, read your first charge. Every Sunday, I want to go to a shir. And he knows that it starts 8 o'clock. And he's going to babysit so I can get out of the house and go to the shir. Every Sunday, he shows up 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock. Not a half a minute can I ever make the shir. And the Rav says to her, stop, I don't need to hear the rest of the charge list, I figured it out. He looks at the guy and he says, the fact that you come home late, I know you're a nice guy, you look like a really nice guy. The fact that you're coming home on time, I'm coming home late, I'm sure you have a good reason for everything. But Da'alecha, he says to him, all your problems are stemming from one siba, one cause. And that you don't hold your wife to be makom rishon. First, you go to shul, you hang out with your buddies, you vape in the lobby, you do your thing, you answer all your emails, you respond to all your WhatsApps, and by then it's already 8:20, 8:15, and then you roll in home. Your needs are coming before her needs. But if you understood that all of your hatzlacha, right, comes through your wife, you'd see it a whole different way. Shmuel said, right? Akiru nashacha v'titashru. Honor your wives in Baba Mitzvah and you'll become rich. If you were to change the way you look at things and realize that if you took care of your wife and her needs first, everything would improve across the board. Then he looks to the woman and he says, okay, let's hear the second charge. She says, if he just does that, I'm ready to rip up the whole list. So that's the thing. Makom rishon is a very important thing. Okay, now, so again, personality. When we look for a life partner, we're concerned with personality, intelligence, religious values. You ready for this one? A couple calls me in Las Vegas, white collar, both well-to-do. One is in banking, one is in real estate. The husband is in real estate, the wife's an investment banker. She's a Baal Shuva, and it's not exactly cool in the summer in Las Vegas. And this woman walks a mile and change to the Las Vegas Kollel to daven, while he's out washing his car and playing tennis. And then he rolls in for the kiddush at 11 o'clock. He drives there. This couple, almost every 2 or 3 months, has a visit by the police because of fights, issues, and stuff. You have to be on the same page religiously, to the point where I even like it. This is my personal way of looking at things. I love it when the girl is more frum than the guy. That's so important. Because she's a keret habayit. She's a keres habayit. Look for a girl who values Torah. Look for a girl who has yiras shamayim. Look for a girl who values gedolim. Who's machshav this. Because she's going to hold your house down. And she's going to pull you out of bed on Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Get to shul, honey. And she's going to make sure that the kids are getting taken care of and their learning is right. Whatever it may be. Yeah, I'm thinking Landau's. Okay. This generation I try to be very flexible with. But Rabbi, 8 o'clock goes. Yeah. So, very important.
How does that, I'm sorry, right before that you said get on the same page, so then...
Meaning?
You said they should be parallel, like religiously.
No, I said they should be somewhat parallel, but it's a little nicer if she's a little bit more. Okay. Yeah. Not extreme. You can't have too wide of a discrepancy, then they won't have much in common. But just a little bit more. Like you see that she has yiras shamayim. It's very important. Marriages are failing because people are not judging the prospective marriage partner with objectivity. We don't realize that we have subconscious inclinations that drive us sometimes to girls that are not good for us. Because physical attraction gets in the way and blinds us. So the question you have to ask yourself, is your attraction towards the person that you're dating based on objective appraisal of her qualities, or are you subconsciously projecting virtues where there are none in your rush to get married? A lady calls me from Chicago and to ask me to help with her son. He's living in the Toms River area. He fell into this trap. He's 37, married twice. Rushing in, he admits he made mistakes both times, not evaluating correctly, assuming, building up fantasies in his head of what he thinks he sees. Don't close your eyes. If you're looking for a girl who's cultured and refined, don't settle for someone who's screwed. That means if she's using nivel peh, there's a problem there. If you're searching for a spiritual girl, don't tolerate someone who's constantly thinking and online buying Gucci and Fendi and everything else. If you want a woman, a happy and accepting wife, don't settle for someone who's self-centered, judgmental, constantly speaking Lashon Hara. Loving her is not going to magically erase her bad qualities. However, being aware of her flaws doesn't necessarily mean you have to reject her. We all have flaws. That's where you need to talk to a person like Rabbi Eisenberger. You can call me and run it by yourself. You know what? I am going with Miss X. I'm dating this girl. I like everything about her, but there's something that is concerning to me. It's very important. I remember having a case of a woman that was divorced, dating someone that was from out of town. He was a retired menahel. She ran a very busy dental practice in Brooklyn, and she was ready to relocate. And he was coming into town, dating her, courting her, and all that. Looked really good. And then he made a statement that really bothered me, and it just flew right over her. He tells her the following: you know, I have a penchant for traveling. I want to travel the world. I want you to be by my side. I want you to quit your job as an office manager to be with me. And we're going to travel the world. But just know that you have to take care of your own travel tickets. What? What is that all about? What does it take in the kitzuvav? Ani azun vani eflach. I said, Helen, whoa, time out here. That doesn't bother you? That's his responsibility. You're quitting your job, but you have to go out and raise your own tickets. Tell him, have a nice day. We're checking out. So be on the lookout for bizarre behavior. Very important. Search for a friend. Someone you can talk to, someone you can confide in. Someone who listens, someone who understands you and values your opinion. Someone you should be able to trust, and someone whose character you admire. And I'm happy I raised that subject, because People ask me all the time, how do I know if I've dated for a certain amount of time and I feel I've dated sufficiently, if I'm with the right person, in your case, the right girl? How do I know? So I'm going to give you a formula. P-A-I-R, pair. P, physical attraction. Now, you must be physically attracted to the girl. You don't have to marry a model, but she has to be physically attractive to you. That's very important. Don't be misled by that. And don't let anyone say to you, if you're not attracted to her, it'll happen later. Don't. That's a big mistake. I've seen 5 or 6 divorces go there. You have to have, that's a non-negotiable. Okay. A, admiration. There's got to be something in the girl that you admire, a quality you look up to that you haven't seen in other people that you've dated. That's important. You have to admire her. A is also acceptance, that there could be things that are wrong with her, that were wrong with her adolescence, or a medical issue perhaps, or whatever it is, and you're able to accept that. No one is perfect. So that's P-A-I. Emotional intimacy. You need to be able to open up to each other and convey ideas and share thoughts and secrets and things that are very important to you and dear to you. It gets to the point where you're not asking your friends anymore for solutions to your quandaries. You're asking her. You want to know her opinion on things. You're sharing your lives now together. You're a unit. You're becoming one unit. More like the Gemara tells us, Ishto ki gufo, his wife is like his body. And R is respect. That there should be respect. That she needs to respect you and look up to you and speak to you in a respectful fashion. So there we go. There's your formula to determine if you're with Mrs. Right. P-A-I-R, physical attraction. A, admiration, acceptance. I, emotional intimacy, an ability to make a connection, to share, to give, to talk about your dreams, etc. And R is respect. So I have a note here, and I think it's important that I share this. It's about a story that I read by Rabbi Ron Eisenman in Passaic that just blew me away. It was about a Persian family, about a woman named Pari Zahavian, who was 15 years old when she met her husband, who was 10 years older than her, and they got married. And in 1979, they could no longer remain in Iran because of the Islamic Revolution. Jews were being persecuted, so they paid a ton of money for smugglers to take them on one nondescript night through the mountains of Turkey, and from there they made it to New Jersey, where she got herself a job and as a medical assistant, and he was already too old to get work, so she would stay, read Tehillim, learn a little Torah. Now he's 91 years old, and he needs a surgical procedure, and that surgical procedure calls for general anesthesia. And he's in the OR for about 4 hours, and he comes out, and after now he's in ICU. Outside, his wife and all the children are saying Tehillim. And he's now, as he's recovering from the anesthesia, is becoming less sedated and more able to speak to the nurse. He tries to summon the nurse over, and he says to her, I need lunch, give me lunch. She's like wondering. She says, Mr. Zahavi, you know you had general anesthesia. That's impossible. You're not going to be able to eat for quite some time. The best we can do is ice chips. Okay. 2 minutes later, he's squelching, give me lunch, give me lunch. So she bends over again, and she tells him very respectfully, the nurse, the circulating nurse in the OR, or the ICU, sorry, I can't give you lunch. He says to her, no, give my wife lunch. What happened? He walks over, she walks over to the wife and says, what happened? Your husband says, you need lunch. She says, yes, I'm fasting. Unbeknownst to anyone, the wife was fasting, all the kids were fasting. So then they walked up to him and he said, how did you know? He says, when you've been married to someone for 65 years, you just know. Rabbi said, I wish upon you such a marriage. You understand? That's connecting. That's what it means to be a one unit. He knew instinctively she wouldn't eat because she'd be fasting for him. Look for someone who will bring out the best in you and make you comfortable with yourself. That's important. You should be able to be yourself on the dates and in the relationship. You're not there to impress her. You're not there to be someone that you're not. You need to be yourself. You need to act yourself. You need to ask yourself after multiple dates, will this girl help me grow? Is this a mature person who's willing to work on the relationship? Not just what's in front of you now. Who's wise? He sees, looks at the future. What's the long term? Where's this going? Right? My Rabbi, Eisenberger, would tell us, you're not here to live, you're here to perform. You're on stage. Will she help me perform my role in this world? And we all have roles. Whatever it may be. That's between you and Hashem to figure out by just talking to Him. All of us have roles. She has to help you get to that. Okay, some potential questions I want to hit you with, or rather scenarios that you might want to just keep in the back of your head. Is she extremely sensitive and emotionally needy? Like really on top of you all the time? Is she complimentary or is she frequently critical? You have to understand something. You're going to be living under the same roof with this woman. You're looking for midos. It's critical. Someone who views life as the glass half full is a blessing. The opposite, someone who views life as the glass half empty, mamish is laying the groundwork for a life of Gehenna. So be careful. Is she happy and easygoing or too intense? Watch out for a person who believes that they're never wrong. And her ego. Do you enjoy her company when you're with her? Is she responsible? Is she the kind of person who's committed to working on the marriage? Is she the kind of person that's tit for tat? Oh, I did for you, now it's your turn to do for me. That's not love. That's conditional. Love should be unconditional. It's not about keeping a scorecard. How's her communication skills? I see this a lot in divorces. I see people who could not communicate well and effectively. That's why the dating period is your laboratory to see what life will be like in the future. If you're getting a good scorecard in dating, as what I'm telling you tonight, you can go pretty much with the leap of faith that everything Be'ez Hashem will work out. Is she considerate that you had to be at work for 2 nights very late and doesn't push you to go out just because her friends are going to be out? Watch out for avoiding behavior. She refuses to reveal personal information about her family, her friends. That's a sure red flag that she has something to hide. How does she accept a disappointment? With calm, or does she blow up? It's very important. Does she retain anger for a long while, or can she forgive and forget and move on? Always be aware that anybody you're going to marry will have some issues or behaviors. They're not exactly to your liking. It's okay. It's just you have to understand what's considered appropriate and normal and what's considered off the chart. We spoke about religious values. That's important. Is she lax about Torah and mitzvos? Does she roll her eyes if you tell her that, wow, I gave Chabura tonight at the base medrash? Like she doesn't care? That would bother me. She's not machshiv my life, my Torah. I'm going to tell you something fascinating. Do you know how I tested the girls that I was going out with? I don't know about today. In the old days we had cassettes. I'd stick my Avigdor Miller cassettes in. I want to see how they respond. And that's how I married my wife. I said, you know what? I grew up in a house, mamish with 4 TVs. I don't want one. What about you? No, I don't want one either. Man, we were already on the right direction. You understand? So I shared my values with her. And that's how you know. You have to convey. Do her parents speak politely to each other? And how do they treat the other children? That's very important. Watch out. Sometimes you have people who come from dysfunctional families. So be on the lookout for that. That's very, very important. How am I doing on time? Rabino? Time. Just tell me. There's a lot of stuff. Right, okay, alrighty. I want to close with, no, I have time. Okay, I'm going to see what I can do. Give me a second. Alrighty. Yeah. I want to step back and talk a little bit about Torah. Because I think it's important that you hear some of these stories. They're very critical stories, and it sets the foundation for life. Again, referring to Rabbi Chaim Berlin, Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner was asked to speak in 1963 at the opening of a new yeshiva called the Yeshiva of Eastern Parkway. He delivered a speech to the founding class. He wasn't sure what to talk about. And on the way to the inauguration of the yeshiva, the dedication of the yeshiva, he asked a very interesting question. He said the following: why did Reb Chaim Volozhin change the name of students of the yeshiva from Talmidei Yeshiva to Bnei Yeshiva? Why did he do that? He asked himself that question. Why Reb Chaim Volozhin changed it from students of the yeshiva to Bnei Yeshiva? Why was that all about? And he says, I was pondering that question, and today I came across a 12th grader in our high school. And I said to him, Yingela, tell me something. What's the difference in your relationship between your Rebbe and your science and math teacher? And the kid was a bright kid. He says, you know, Rebbe, my Rebbe is like a baby nursing from his mother. It's a relationship for life. Versus my relationship with my science teacher, it's like going to the lunchroom and being shoved a tray of food. It's over. Once I've had him, it's done. Bnei Yeshiva means we're students of Torah. The Torah is embedded within our very soul, with our very lives. My relationship with my Rebbe is priceless. It's lifelong. He's the person that's going to take me through my difficulties in high school. He's the person I'm going to reach out to when I'm dating. He's the person that I can look to when there's a shalom bayis issue. It's a forever relationship. So they say an incredible story, Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Ruderman, that there was a boy engaged in Eretz Yisrael to the daughter of a local magnate, someone who was very wealthy. And it's time for the chuppah to start. Right before they're getting ready for the chuppah to start, the chassan walks over to the Rosh Yeshiva, to his Rosh Yeshiva, and he says to him, Rebbe, what advice could you give me right before I start my life now as a married man? So he told him, you're going to be going to work for your father-in-law, I understand. So make sure you have a seder in the morning, go to shul obviously, have a seder in the morning, and as much as possible try to go back for a night seder as well. And now you have it made. You'll have starim, you'll be good to go, you'll have work. And they're schmoozing. When the father of the kala comes running into the back of the hall, where they're getting ready for the party to start, and send them down the hallway, and he says, no, what's the delay all about? Let's go. We have a hall full of people, guests, waiting for the wedding to start. What's happening here? So Rav Ruderman very innocently says, your future son-in-law asked me some advice how to set up a great life. I told him it's important that he's going to be going to work for you. You should have atzlacha, you should have starim in the morning and starim at night. And this is Orthodox, modern Orthodox guy. He looks at the Rav, he turns red like a beet, and he says, what kind of nonsense are you feeding my future son-in-law? He has one mission in life, to get to work tomorrow and make $1 million. Heard that? Rav Ruben was in absolute shock when he heard that. How we could get so corrupted by society, how a person could be sent such off the derech like that, he lost his whole bearings on life. He has one mission, to get to work and make $1 million. That's the goal. Be careful. That's why we're in places like this. Make sure that we always have Torah first and foremost on our trajectory. I want to close with a very nice piece on emunah. A righteous family lived in poverty in Odessa. There was a knock on the door. The father of the family opens the door and sees a group of people smiling from ear to ear. He says to them, "Who are you?" One person says, "My name is emunah." The second one says, "My name is simcha." The third one says, "My name is ashirut, wealth." The fourth one said, "My name is brius, good health." And the fifth one said, "My name is bracha." "Welcome to my house," the balabas says. "No," they said, "we can't accept your welcome. You have to choose one of us. We told you who we are, but only one of us is allowed to come inside." If that's the case, he said, "I need a couple of minutes. I'm going to consult with my wife and children in the back of the house and come back and tell you what selection we've made." So they went back, they had a conference, and then the man asked them, "Which do you want?" The whole family agreed. He says that we select emunah as the guest that we'd like to invite inside our home. When emunah came in, suddenly something surprising took place. The poor man, what happened? All the other guests came along with him. Wealth, happiness, blessing, bracha, health, and all that. So he said to them, "I thought only one of you was allowed to come in." And they replied, "True. If you had chosen anything else, like wealth, only wealth would have come. Or health, only health would have come. When you chose emunah, we all automatically follow." And that's the lesson. If we have emunah, Rabbi Sai, we have it all. Please take that as your roadmap as you embark on your mission to find your partner for life. And it's my bracha to you, all of you, that Be'ez Hashem, everyone here should find their soulmate quickly and easily. And I should have the chus to be invited to every chasana quickly within the year. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful and heilig Shabbos.